So I think, all right, I should be recording. So we're not streaming this because my plan is to record this and then post it after the Seth episode, which
Okay.
I'm feverishly trying to schedule. Um, but I do have questions. So like, so the whole idea behind this is you're going to be a surprise game show for Seth. Hopefully it's a surprise. And
Uh,
basically you're going to answer, I have 7 questions for you about somewhat current events, like stuff going on in Defiance, like within the last, let's say 12 months. And
okay.
I'm going to ask the question. I'll pause because I got to have time to I want to play me asking the question. And then Seth is going to guess whether or not you know the answer correctly. It's like the homeless game from the Howard Stern show, except instead of the homeless people, it's Brian. Okay, that's what I'm doing. But before we get to that, I do have some topics for you. So let's talk about, first of all, Victor Vasio and his return. Are you excited? How excited are you about this? Because I know last time I talked to you about your characters, you're pretty much settled that Scott Douglas is done, unless there's a really, really, really good reason. Is kind of the vibe I got. And then, but you want to do something, and then the Victor Vasio shows up in the High Flyer segment. How'd that come together? How are you feeling about this? Is this all a big mistake?
Well, we'll see. So far, it's just been 2 segments, and on this upcoming Dev TV, there's a match. So
Okay.
that's where the rubber really meets the road, having to write a match
Yeah, man.
for the first time in several years. But
Years.
I was gonna. Well, when I mentioned that to you, I think I said something about if I did anything, it'd probably be a tag team, and I had one planned.
Right.
And it was, a little bit of a deviation, a little inspired by the well, I'm blanking on their names now.
Them boys, the Briscoes.
Yes, yeah, inspired by them. And then within a week or two, Jay passed away. So I was like, well, this feels in bad taste now.
Right.
So I dropped all that, and then I don't know. I was like, all right, let me see something. I think maybe it was a conversation in staff chat. Tom had something he was doing that he felt was too similar to someone else.
Okay.
So we just jumped into docs and see, to see if we could figure something out. And we did. So I think it'd be cool, even if I don't continue Vasio on past this arc. I just wanted to see if I could get back in there and still do it.
Yeah, match writing is like the thing, right? Everything else is easy. The other shit's fun. Then it's like, God damn it, I gotta sit and write this match. God damn it. And now with Wednesday morning, Wednesday morning comes quick. You gotta get that shit done. All right. Well, I'm looking forward.
That messed me up too, because since I've been gone, the deadlines have changed.
Hey, listen, man, you gotta catch up. Okay, get with the times. So let's talk about your role in staff and now being active again. I had this image the other day because I'm such an asshole, and I had to share it with you. This image of you are the staff Kerry Kuriyama, and I think there's irony there. Kind of walking around backstage with a clipboard, handing out demerits. Do you feel that way? Do you feel like the scolding uncle? And is that most people wouldn't enjoy that, but some people might.
A little bit, yeah, for sure. Well, and I hate to be that way, but as I'm reading, I'm like, all right, I gotta say something. And it's not that I'm such a stalwart and don't want any kind of change. It's I'll openly say I do not know what exactly what the magic formula is that has made Defiance last this long. But if we deviate too far from too many small things, I fear we may end up going the way of so many other feds before us.
I think that makes sense, but wouldn't you also argue, like, I feel like the environment, the Defiance culture is often defined by the people in it and the type of writers and the types of characters that pop up. Bigfoot wizards or no, Would you, I mean, and things evolve. And again, I don't think a lot of what you said is wrong. I don't disagree with a lot of what you said. I thought some of it was nitpicky, but I also respect it because you're right. There is like that tradition. And I do think it's good for somebody to come in and be like, hey, let's remember this is how you get a little ridiculous here. This is a little ridiculous. Yeah. So I get it.
Well, and even with the commentary, I openly admitted like, all right, well, Lance's character could have evolved since last I wrote him, but last I left him, he was supposed to be playing the straight and narrow because we had let Darren get a little loose since we
without Angus. Yes,
exactly.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And maybe this is too traditional, but I feel like, especially if we had two babyface announcers, I feel like if they're both just off the cuff and I
it's the same character.
Like
they're playing if they both kind of have the same voice. I see what you're saying. Yeah, because Angus definitely had his own unique voice, and I could see how sometimes, depending on when you're reading it, read a couple lines and tell me which announcer said that. You might struggle today. You definitely knew when Angus was talking, which brings us to the F word. Which brings us to the F word. Oh God, that's so funny. I did think it was funny. I don't know if you saw in my feedback. I did a search of both nights of this last Def TV 182, and the word fuck was used just F-U-C-K, and maybe it was fucking or whatever, fuckingly, however it was used, 12 times. Night 2 was 25 times. I love it. And that's not even like counting like, like I feel like Resin had at least 1 or 2 times where it was like an elongated fuck. Like a fuck, like
or a fuggin,
right?
F-U-G-G.
Yeah. Oh man!
Like, if Defiance was still what it was at its conceit, if it was still, well, I guess not at its conceit, post Gorilla Grindhouse, once they had moved into the WrestlePlex, if it's still this small regional promotion operating, in New Orleans, they got to bring the same fans back, pretty much the same fans back every week, 2 weeks, whatever it is in storyline. They're a smaller thing, and I think there you could have gotten away with the language a lot more, much like an early ECW, but much like a later ECW on TNN. To reach the mainstream status that Defiance supposedly has, to be able to not only tour, but we're not even touring small buildings anymore.
No, we're doing good. Business is up. Business is up, baby.
And I would argue throughout history, to get to that type of mainstream success, you would have to tone it down. Because obviously you already had a core. If you're expanding from that core, you're having to tone it down, man. You're having to go after that kind of WWE-ish demographic.
All right, so I'm going to play devil's advocate on one point. So the whole idea, I was thinking about this the other day. Lindsay Troy, the number 1 ranked wrestler on the TEFP Top 100, 2 years in a row or whatever, 2 times in a row. I don't know if you did it 2 years in a row. Yeah. And let's hope there's not a third, because I know you have no ambition of a third. But wouldn't you assume that the top ranked wrestler in the world is the world champion of a national company? And even, when maybe she was flying under the radar doing some one-offs for some friends, but now, I don't know, I could see how even just, and it's, I'm not, just using that character all on its own, ignoring all the other, name talent, you kind of have to assume that it would be a national promotion, touring and probably selling out.
I see that point, but I'll counter with this.
Yeah.
How many people filling a major sports arena know what the PW Insider is, the whatever Uncle Dave's deal is? Like, there's always been lists, and it's only the hardcore fans who give a shit about those lists. So I'd argue.
Yeah, but the hardcore fan is like the AEW fan, right? And they sell out. Well, they used to. I don't know how they're doing now.
Smaller arenas.
Right. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I don't disagree. I just think it's kind of interesting to think about, because I do think the debate is fun. All right, let's talk about the new Def art. What prompted that? And I think also I'd also add, like, did you have you knew you had to move on from micros, right? They were a little too unwieldy. Chris King made it look easy, and there's probably a handful of people who have been here who have made it look really easy. But that shit's not easy, and it doesn't look like fun to me. Nothing about that looks like fun. So was it? Tell me how that kind of came to be. You and Mikey making that happen.
Well, yeah, much like you said, the unfortunate loss of Chris King, and we tried to keep it going. I've tried to make him. Billy was actually doing a great job with him, and when Dwayne was here,
Right.
If he liked your character enough, he'd make some great ones. But they are incredibly time consuming, and I don't think with the median age in Defiance, I don't think anyone's got the time to work on those. So yeah, Mikey had offered up that art style a while ago when he was doing it in Classic.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I don't know, something about seeing it on his more neon classic backgrounds, it just stood off too cartoonish to me. And then after a while, man, I was like, we got to do something. I sought out a guy I found on one of the art websites. I forget.
DeviantArt or something.
Some art. Yes. And he shot it. He shot like for the hours he says he shot a fair price, but it was just way too much for the amount of characters we have, and sometimes the potential turnover. Which much like a lot of poser feds, you got to be there for a while before you get one, which makes complete sense. But yeah, and I was like, you know what? Let's double back to Mikey's art and just see if we can grime it up a little bit, make it look a little more Defiance.
Yeah, I think you've so far been very successful. I wonder, one of the thoughts I had is like, is there a way to sort of almost honor the micros in some way on the website, like a page or something in the Defiance history, and because I think that might be kind of neat. Because I think it is a part of it. Yeah,
keep the old one.
Yeah, or just something like, hey, like this is the old art we used or something. Because I do think that the history of Defiance is always interesting to me as it evolves. As the de facto pseudo or actual webmaster for Defiance, are you the webmaster, Brian? How does that work?
I get
you and Ford maybe. How does that work?
Yeah. And I'd say actually Ford understands that script. But the actual code of the script better than I do.
He's invaluable.
And we still at the time had to lean on Ross Finmore, who, to my understanding, wrote the script originally, or wrote it based on something Ford had written years and years ago.
Wow.
I don't really know the lineage of it, but yeah. So I mean, I think I've done the most, like the major updates to the last like kind of pseudo facelift I did, and then since then Roland actually took it upon himself the great undertaking of trying to update and clean up that menu a little bit. It's a work in progress, and one thing that held it up for a long time is I'm actually in possession of the domain name now. Okay. I've had it for about a year and a half. Part of my break was to get some of that sorted out, and with Ross being, and we were going to move from his server to mine, and with Ross being in Australia and time differences, and he's obviously busy, and I get busy, and we haven't found a good time to do that yet. So for a long time we were holding off on any major updates because especially images would all have to be redone. But since it's kind of been radio silence with me and him for a little while now, we're just kind of moving forward and going for it. We'll figure it out later.
Yep.
And I'd love to build a brand new site, but working around that script, I really don't know. And I don't want to let go of that script because it's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. I know you don't want to mess it up. you don't want to let go of it. You don't want to screw it up. All right. So yeah, you mentioned kind of upgrading the website. Are there other enhancements, or like what else do you want to do? Hey, one thing that literally showed up to me today. Let me call this out. This image up here, top left. For some reason, I don't know.
Oh.
Motherfucker! Now it works. I gotta hit the reload, Paul.
There it is.
Oh, Jesus. No, but are there any, like, what else do you have? Other ideas or things, improvements you want to make, or things you want to do?
Nothing too crazy at the moment. I mean, because like I said, we are kind of hamstrung by what the script can do.
Right.
There was some stuff a while ago, like that the Def on Demand thing there in the lower right. Like that was a change, which I'm pretty sure that all still works, except for maybe that uncut button because the you need oh
Oh yeah,
well yeah
you got you there.
76.
You're good.
You needed to
I see.
you needed to double post in the news, and it was a real pain. So
Ah,
I got to rework that at some point. But yeah, no, I mean nothing major because honestly, like two things: one, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and two, I know people really like all the bells and the whistles, but kind of like in wrestling, like work rate versus sports
yeah.
entertainment or whatever. I think Defiance has the on the writing side. I think that's where all the talent and the power is, and the fact that we don't have crazy flashy graphics and posers and etc. I think it keeps us from attracting the
Good
wrong
point.
crowd.
Yeah. Who did and maybe you said this? Who did the poser for like the Bronson box and the Eugene Dewey Hall of Fame? Was that you guys?
Yeah, those were Mid Journey AI.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That's why they look like Chris Pratt and
Right, right. Yeah, Eugene Dewey looked like Chris Pratt. That's
yeah.
true.
Well, and Bronson was easy because he based it off of that character, so I was
Right.
able to reference that movie in the prompt. But yeah,
Oh,
the
okay.
Eugene Dewey proved a little. I told it Seth Rogen, but it gave me
Really?
Chris
Chris
Pratt.
Pratt.
Yeah.
Well, jeez. You mentioned like the talent and of the writing in Defiance today, and I know you're working your way through 182 feedback. But is there, as somebody who's just dipping back in, is there a storyline or a feud or something or what are you most intrigued by right now?
Um. Well, I know I have not read it all to really understand what's going on, but I know Crimson Lord's back in the mix
Hmm.
somehow, some sort. That's very interesting because I always liked
I
that
haven't
character
read
of
Uncut
Scott's.
yet, but I saw Seth's feedback and I'm like, oh shit, okay, right, it's getting serious. Yeah, he's been around, he's been lurking, but now it's getting serious.
Uh,
Yeah.
well, and Vay Victus is interesting because like
Hmm.
I obviously been hearing about it for a while, and I knew the players, but seeing some of that's interesting. I don't know when the last time we had like a real big powerhouse stable.
Right.
I mean, obviously, like the Cabal was intended to kind of be that, and just
Right.
never got
24K
there.
was 24K like dominant in that way? I mean, these guys have all the belts except the
I
tag.
don't think so. I think they did have some belt. I can't remember because 24K here was very brief.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I came
yeah.
in as they were ending, so I kind of missed most of that run. But obviously, Mikey had the belt for 499 days. Your icon.
It,
All right, all right. So, all right. So let's. You ready to try these questions, Brian? You ready to give this a shot?
sure.
All right. So, and now you're a son of a bitch. I want to say that because you decided to get back into Defiance and decided to get back paying attention, just as I was coming up with this idea. But that makes it more interesting.
I've read one night of one show, and I'm
Okay.
like what 3 segments into night two. So
Okay. Okay.
you got the whole last year and a half that I'm pretty clueless on.
That's kind of what I'm hoping. I'm kind of banking on that. All right. So, Brian, there's 7 questions. I'm going to ask you the question. Give it a minute for me to, and then your answer. Or you can even talk through your answer, but you got to come down to. All right. So, question 1, Brian, name 2 Defiance performers who have been romantically linked to Siobhan Cassidy.
I don't even know who that is. But I'll take a shot in the dark. Teresa Ames. Um, that's all I got.
All right.
What
Don't
about
look at the website. Don't be cheating over there.
no.
Okay.
What about Pat Cassidy with
Okay.
the girl with him?
Yeah. Yeah. That's his sister. But that's
Oh,
okay.
oh,
No.
Ophelia
No,
Spikes?
you're done. Question's over. Correct answers that we would accept would be Malik Garland and Brock Newblood. All right, Brian, thank you for that. This is already a home run. All right, so question number 2. What does Terry Melton call her group comprised of Zoltan, J.J. Dixon, and Terry Melton herself?
Uncut Gems.
Correct answer is your Uncut Gems, but we'll see if Seth is going to give you
Ah.
that one. I think I would give you that one because he just changed it to your Uncut Gems. All right, well done, Brian. All right, question number 3. Who did the Lucky Sevens beat for their second run with the unified tag titles at Acts of Defiance 2022?
Wait, read that one more time. I'm sorry.
All right. Who did the Lucky Sevens defeat to begin their second run with the unified tag titles at Acts of Defiance?
Saturday Night Specials.
Close. The Sevens beat the Saturday Night Specials for the belts at Max Def 2022. It was Titanus Familia. Los Tres Titanus. Yes. All right. All right. Question 4. All right. We've recently had 2 new members apply and get accepted to Defiance on the roster, and they're almost certainly already gone. Can you name the 2 handlers who applied and were accepted? We need both names.
All right, Logan and Rhea.
Very good. Very nice. All right. Question 5. What faction has Scro been embroiled in a feud with for the past 6+ months?
I feel like I should know this one. How many factions are there? It's not like this is AEW. I mean, this is wrong. What, the Cabal?
All right. It's the House of the Harvest, which is the... I would
shit.
almost call them
Yeah,
the successors. Or...
HOH.
Yeah, the hoes. them hoes would have been accepted, by the way. I would have accepted that as an answer. All right. Here's a good one. So, question 6. And think about this one, because I think you might be able to come up with this. Who did Henry Keys defeat for the Soher at Max Def 2022?
I mean, I know the last person I approved to put it on. There maybe there was someone in the middle.
Yep.
So I'm gonna say Scro.
That's the correct answer. Well done, sir. Well done. For 500 points and back on the board. All right, man. Here's the last question. I think you've done pretty well so far, all considering. All right. It is DEF CON season, as you know. Are you able to name one of the main events from either night of the previous DEF CON 2022? I'm looking for the main events, the 2 main events for last year's show of the year.
Guessing. Deacon versus Lindsay Troy for the fist.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, close. Deacon is in it. It was Deacon versus Crimson Stalker.
That's the Mausoleum match? No.
I think it was the rematch to the Mausoleum match, I believe.
That's right.
I think.
I was still around for the Mausoleum thing.
Okay. Right. Yeah, Vasio was in that. Made an appearance. The other match. What if I said safe space match? Well, if I said safe space match, what would come to mind?
Mallet Garland, Connor Fuse.
Yeah, very good. As a tag team taking on the Saturday Night Specials. Yes. Yeah, you missed a lot of fun. There. All right, Brian, I wanna thank you for that. I think you did okay. I think you got 2 or 3 out of 7. We'll have to check that in post. But dude, I appreciate you doing this. This was good. This was a little preamble to when I actually have you on in a longer form. All right, man. Thanks for doing that.
No problem, man.
All right, man. All right, be good. Thanks.